Now we're talking about eukaryotes. Eukaryotes are organisms that have a membrane-bound nucleus or organelles. Eukaryotes include animals, plants, fungi, and all these protists. Now, this little overview is about protists. What is a protist? Well, first of all, let me tell you what isn't a protist. Protists are not a single group. They're not a single kingdom. They are pretty much every eukaryote or every member of the domain eukarya that is not classified as an animal or a plant or a fungus. So basically they're everything else. So they're incredibly diverse. Now, for all practical purposes, they include protozoans, algae, slime molds, and water molds. And you'll notice how I kind of color-coded this for the purpose of this discussion. Now, here is a brief overview of some of the major groups of protists and their representatives. And you'll notice that you don't really have a protozoan-algae dichotomy anymore. We have entire groups that got both of them, and so on and so forth. Well, first of all, a protozoan is essentially any single-celled eukaryote that isn't in the fungus kingdom. Okay? Algae refers to any photosynthetic, well, protozoans are non-photosynthetic. Algae are photosynthetic, but are not considered plants. So basically anything that is eukaryotic and photosynthetic and isn't in the plant kingdom is an algae. Slime molds and water molds, we'll get to that in a minute. Now, the archaeplastids include a couple of groups of algae that are also related to the plant kingdom. The rhodophyta are the red algae, and the chlorophyta are the green algae. These things can be single-celled or multicellular. Amoebozoans are heterotrophic, and this includes the protozoan group, the amoebas, that can swim using pseudopodia. The slime molds are also their relatives. They can go through a single-celled amoeba-like stage and a multicellular mold-like stage. The opisthecons include the choanoflagellates, and choanoflagellates are the closest living protists that are relatives to the animal kingdom. In fact, they both have, a group of animals known as the sponges have choanocytes, and so do these choanoflagellates. The rhizarians are marine protozoans that have shells. The foraminiferans have little calcium shells, and the radiolarians have little glass shells. Now, the forams have a very rich fossil record because almost any marine sediments are going to have these microscopic foraminiferan skeletons in there, and pretty much any fossil marine sediments are going to have forams in there as well. They make very good index fossils because their fossil succession is very well worked out across the ages where they occurred in the past. The chromalvulates are a huge group that includes algae and protozoans and so forth. Dinoflagellates are algae that live in freshwater and saltwater. They have a cellulose shell and a groove and two flagella. They're important components of phytoplankton. In fact, they're probably the second most common type of phytoplankton. Some of these are known to cause red tide, and some of these are also known to live symbiotically inside reef-building corals. Apicomplexans are parasitic protozoans. Ciliates are free-living protozoans that swim using cilia. Diatoms rank number one as phytoplankton. These live in freshwater and saltwater and have glass shells, and marine sediments can have diatomaceous earth. The golden algae is another group of algae. The phaeophyta are the brown algae. They're multicellular, and they can get quite large. Kelp, sargassum are examples of brown algae. The water molds used to be classified in the kingdom fungi, but they don't belong to the kingdom fungi because they don't have the same structure or cell walls as fungi do. But they're very similar to molds in terms of their superficial structure, and one of them is responsible for the Irish potato famine. Now, the excavates include these two groups of parasites, the diplomonids and the parabasalids, and then you got this group called the euglenozoans, which includes both the photosynthetic euglena and some of the protozoans, one of which lives inside termites known as trichonympha. So again, this is just a brief overview of the incredible diversity of the protists.